And I do want to remind everyone that for more Microsoft webcasts, you can go to microsoft.com/webcast. And thanks again for joining us for today's presentation, SharePoint for Internet Site Development, Enabling Social Networking. And not without any further delay, I'm going to turn the floor over to today's first presenter, Matt Rantland.
Hi there, my name is Matt Rantland, and with me here is Brendan Schwartz. Today we're going to talk about using social networking features inside of a SharePoint site for public Internet consumption. Let's go ahead and talk about the prerequisites for this session. If I can get there we go. The session prerequisites here assume a basic knowledge of Microsoft SharePoint products and technologies. This is a level 200 webcast. We are not going to go very deep into any form of code. We're mostly going to be showing you features and functions. The agenda for today is as follows. We're first going to talk about SharePoint's out-of-the-box social computing and social networking features. We're going to use the social networking features both out-of-the-box and custom in the context of a customized AdventureWorks portal, and we have a great demo to show you there. We're going to talk about the community kit for SharePoint, and those are some open source community projects that can help enhance your SharePoint social experience, as well as how you can go about customizing some of those blogs to give yourself a custom look and feel. Out of the box, SharePoint ships with several social networking features. These social networking features include the user profile, My Site, blogs, wikis, discussion boards, a collection of web parts, the ability to surface presence information, and people search. Let's talk a little bit more about each one of these. User profiles are a customizable set of properties that describe an individual. The individual's properties are able to be imported automatically, perhaps from Active Directory or some other place, maybe a PeopleSoft or Microsoft Exchange. Users' profile properties are provided by the shared service provider, and the user does have some capability to manage their own profile details, including what level of permission the user has to see those details. So, for example, a home phone number can be in the profile, but listed as private and only displayable to that individual user. These profile details are used by the social networking web parts shipped by SharePoint and by the people search aspect of SharePoint to help you discover your coworkers on your portal. The My Site capability of SharePoint is the individual user's destination on the web. This will be their personal home page. It allows the user to create a private view for their My Site, which shows them the interesting information pertinent to them and their position, their role, and their interests. There's also the capability for a public view of that information, and the user can use a My Site like any other SharePoint site, including the capability to host documents, to provide blogging and wiki capabilities, lists of data, whatever they may want, as well as web parts that display information about their coworkers and the social networking web parts that we're going to talk about in a little bit. The next feature is blog. So at this point, who has not seen a blog and understand what a blog is? A blog is the ability for an author or a group of authors to write content for publishing, and the audience can interact with that content typically by commenting or rating that content. The blog can contain any kind of information. It can contain text. It can contain links to interesting articles or interesting information on the web, pictures, documents, whatever you may want to put on your blog. Blogs are typically displayed in reverse chronological order, so the most recent post shows up on top. It's easiest to consume that way, and typically they're exposed via an RSS feed for an automatic subscription. SharePoint provides out-of-the-box a blog template that makes creating a blog easy. The blog template includes the ability to categorize your posts by a variety of different topic areas. Wikis are a living document repository. The pages inside of a wiki are edited in a simple-to-use sort of WYSIWYG fashion, complete with rich text editing capabilities for styling information. Pages link to each other, so you can rapidly build a rich community set of knowledge that multiple users can contribute to. And it's just ideally designed for the group of people to work together on perhaps a document or on a meeting or that kind of information where multiple people need to have input and be able to perhaps change each other's ideas and continually refine those ideas on the website. Discussion boards mimic your news groups and forums functionalities. This is the ability for an individual to post a topic idea or concept and for people to reply back and forth to the original concept idea as well as to each other's replies in sort of a threaded or perhaps a flat view of that information. This does provide support for moderator approval of posts, so you're not opening this up to the general public for unmoderated content, and can be used in either a public or private forums, however works best for you. Social networking web parts. These are the interesting aspects of these are the interesting web parts that you can place on your My Site, and this is where they're ideally suited. Your colleagues list is similar to Facebook. If you've seen Facebook, this is your friends list. The colleagues list are the people who work with you and how they're related to you in the organizational structure and what kind of interaction they have with you, perhaps email conversations or distribution lists or even instant messenger contacts. SharePoint can actually make recommendations to you about these social networking connections that you can expose through this colleagues list or your friends list. The colleague tracker web part allows organization members to privately view those lists of colleagues and see what those folks have been doing. It's kind of the status message that Facebook exposes as a feed from each individual user that gets grouped together so you can see what's happening out there on the portal, out there in the environment. Users have the capability to modify and target their colleague tracker web part so that they can present information from their colleagues about maybe personal details like anniversaries or other private information, phone numbers maybe when those get modified. You can also follow when documents get changed or when blog posts get created. And you have the ability to scope how that information is presented to you. The SharePoint site, lists, and membership web parts, the membership and links web parts here, provide the ability for a user to view your own SharePoint sites, groups, and mailing list memberships, as well as the links and memberships that you have in common with other users on the portal. And finally, the In Common With web part is really displayed for visitors to your My Site. The visitors will get to see what they, and through the details they've entered in their profile, have in common with you as the owner of the My Site page. Presence information is the ability to determine what a user is doing. Are they logged in and online? If they're logged in, are they logged into the network and in a meeting? That information can be surfaced through the Microsoft Office Communication Server and Microsoft Exchange Server integration points. This is represented on the portal by that jelly bean-like pawn icon, that little circle bubble that gets different colors next to usernames in a variety of different lists on the portal. The drop-down that flies out from that little jelly bean icon can tell you things like, are they online in their instant messenger? Is their out-of-office message turned on? And contact information and contact options. You can, right from the portal, through that little pawn icon, fly out an option and request meeting at time with that individual, or perhaps send them an instant message while interacting with them through the web page. People Search is the human discovery tool. Any detail inside of your profile is potentially indexed for search purposes. Users are able to update their profiles and add information like their past projects, their skill sets, and their relationships. And you can mine this information with SharePoint Search and surface it through People Search. Results can be returned in a variety of formats. You can return your results in a ranked social distance through organizational hierarchy distances. You can also refine your search through things like perhaps the job title, to find the individual that you're looking for, and this is especially helpful when you have a large organization or a large collection of people. So now we're going to talk about our customized portal environment, the AdventureWorks portal. AdventureWorks is a sample company, a fictitious company, and in this case we're going to take a look at a public website that AdventureWorks offers that's based on SharePoint. It uses a bunch of the out-of-the-box social computing, social networking features, including user profiles, My Sites, wikis and blogs to discussion boards, people search, and colleagues. Let's talk about them, and then we're actually going to dive into the demo and take a look at this in action. First is our user profiles in AdventureWorks. Our user profile information is captured from a registration form. It uses the ASP.NET SQL membership provider, and this gives you the capability to separate your membership base from Active Directory, and you can extend profile information stored in the central SharePoint profile store to take advantage of some of the information that is entered as a user registers in their site. And we'll take a look at how this is handled. The profile information is then surfaced in a variety of locations in the portal, and here you can see a screenshot of some personal details of an individual user. Okay, the My Site capability in AdventureWorks is used for a user's homepage. This is the My AdventureWorks page. This is where they have information that is pertinent specifically to them. What kind of photos have they uploaded? What kind of blog posts have they created? And as a user visits another user's page, they can see a variety of ways to interact with that user. The wikis inside of AdventureWorks use the out-of-the-box wiki site capabilities. They have there's a section here, and the wikis have been styled to show you that a wiki does not have to look like SharePoint. You can change it so that it looks however you need it to look through some custom cascading style sheets and a custom master page, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Of course, the screenshots that you see here don't look very styled, but once we look at this in the portal, you'll see a difference. Discussion boards are used on the portal to provide the capability for that threaded forum discussion with open communication between users. The forums also have been styled, and here you can see an example of that styling activity where the forum does not necessarily have to look like SharePoint out of the box. It does that styling through a custom master page and through some custom community style, cascading style sheets, community.css. People search is used inside of AdventureWorks to help you find your connection. Inside of our AdventureWorks portal, since we're targeting the public internet, we're not necessarily talking about colleagues, even though that's SharePoint lingo for a coworker or person. Here we're instead going to be calling those folks buddies. And again, people search limits the search result to just the people type of content inside of SharePoint, and we're going to be using some custom styling here to give us the correct AdventureWorks branding. And you can see a search result, sample search result here on the page. Our colleagues, as I just mentioned, are called buddies, and we have a custom buddies or colleagues web part available to us that we're going to, or rather it's the out-of-the-box web part that we've customized the UI for, and we have a custom web part that has the My Buddy viewer that allows you to show the picture and interact with them in a specified manner. We're going to take advantage of another Facebook-like concept, the ability to send messages back and forth to each other, similar to the Facebook wall. All right. So here's our custom features that are not out of the box. We're going to take advantage of the Community Kit for SharePoint Enhanced Blog Edition to provide a customized blogging experience that is an extension of what's available out of the box for SharePoint blogs. We're going to use specific message boards, and these are the My Messages that I've been talking about just a moment ago, the Facebook wall type of concept, where users are going to be able to send each other a message without necessarily having to send email or go into a discussion group. We'll have a custom list that stores this information for the users. And there are a couple of custom web parts that we've got that will enable us to interact with that custom list. So the blogs inside of AdventureWorks make use of the Community Kit for SharePoint Extended Blog Edition. That's that CKS EBE acronym that you see. And if you do a search on the web using your favorite search engine, you're going to find just a large variety of information out there about how to do custom styling and custom theming. Here on our portal, we've got two blogs that we've created. We've got a Travel Experts blog, which is our main site, and a community blog, which allows users who've created their own blog posts to be rolled up into a single blog feed using Steven Vanderkrant's My Site blog aggregator web part available for free on CodeFlex, all part of the community contribution to your social experience based on SharePoint. The message board functionality inside of AdventureWorks, as I mentioned, uses a custom list, and we've got a content query web part doing the surfacing of that information with custom XSLT transformations used to display those posts in the format that we want using the styles that we want. And you can see a screenshot of that here. We'll see that in action in just a moment. The My Messages functionality in AdventureWorks is the actual send a message to the individual user. This is the wall. And the user can see on their My Site the messages that they've received from the different users throughout the portal. Okay. Well, I think that's enough talk about the AdventureWorks site. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the AdventureWorks site. Okay, so let me go ahead to the home page here. Here's our AdventureWorks site. You can see that we have Silverlight control here. We've got Silverlight embedded in the portal. We've got information available to anonymous users. Notice I'm not logged in. We can go ahead and take a look at the destination guides. We've got the capability to register for an account or log in. You can see some integration to Virtual Earth here. Let's go ahead to our home page and actually talk about some of the social aspects that we've been discussing so far in the presentation. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to log in as a known user. So I happen to know Todd Rowe's user information. So Todd Rowe, or Todd R, is at adventure-works.com. And let me log in. Okay, I am now logged into the site. You can see some custom profile information for Todd Rowe up here in the top left, including a photo, some personal details. May 1st happens to be Todd's birthday, email address, as well as some of the information that Todd has. You can see my custom messages board here. This shows that I've not received any messages from any users. And then this is the interaction with the rest of the site, the capability to post information to a message board, as well as interact with the rest of the information on the site, including the Silverlight control. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at Todd's personal site on the web. Let's go ahead and look at the My AdventureWorks site. And this is where personal profile details are surfaced for Todd. So here you can see that we've got the My Messages function here. This is the My Messages Viewer web part, custom web part that reads from that custom list I mentioned. We've got the My Gallery View web part here, where we're able to manage photos, the ability to create a personal blog here, which would be hosted by our My Site. And we've got the My Buddies web part here, and the My Buddies web part shows that I have not yet added any colleagues. So to prove that this is SharePoint, that we are looking at SharePoint information, I'm going to actually go ahead to a well-known URL, well-known in this particular site. There's no actual link to this, so bear with my typing here. And it looks like I've already typed it in. So I'm going to go ahead to the Site Manager for SharePoint, and the Site Manager is going to show me that I am, in fact, looking at SharePoint information, that I have some special pages here, some special lists and libraries, but otherwise, this is simply a SharePoint site. Okay, let's go back to Todd's profile. We're here on Todd's profile, and we should edit some details. Let's make a change to the profile, show you the custom profile page that we have. In the custom profile page here, this looks a little bit more like SharePoint. We've got profile details that have been stored in the central profile store for Todd. Let's go ahead and change Todd's birthday, for example. We'll go ahead and change Todd's birthday, January 13th. That'll be Todd's birthday. We could set the visibility for this particular property. We have the capability to change who has the ability to see that. Everyone is fine. And let's go ahead and save and close this change. And we go back to our details. We can see that Todd's birthday has, in fact, changed to January 13th. So we've been able to modify the profile details through the website as Todd would. Let's go ahead and take a look at central administration and the shared service provider so that we can see what the administrator may do, especially if faced with a large number of profiles. So we'll go to our Start menu, and I've pinned central administration to the Start menu. We'll go ahead and click that to bring that up. Okay, here I'm in Central Administration. Let's go to our adventure-works.com shared service provider. And here is the shared service provider for AdventureWorks. Just like any other shared service provider, we've got search and audiences in here, but we're really interested in our user profiles and properties. So let's go here. Our user profiles show that we have 23 user profiles loaded into the system. Let's go ahead and view our user profiles and find Todd. Alphabetically, Todd comes down here at the end. We'll edit Todd's profile details. And we can see that this is the standard SharePoint profile with a couple of custom attributes added down here at the bottom. Country and gender are new for our particular installation. Now, how do we actually get that information in there? The data is populated by the registration form. Adding the details to the profile store can be managed back over here in our user profile properties. Let's go to our View User Profile Properties. Actually click that link. Okay. Here we have the capability in our profile properties to view the profile properties that are being mapped and imported to our profile store. And we can see that we have some categories under General Details. These are our standard categories that can be our standard details that are brought into our profile. Any of these can be used by a social site, and especially for people search. Skills and responsibilities, past projects, those are great details to be able to search on. We also have some custom properties. We've got a little group divider here for custom properties, and you can see that country and gender have been created as string values in the profile store, and so we can take advantage of this as a repository for practically any type of information, whether it's dates, whether it's relationships to other people, text, links, what have you. We have a lot of flexibility here. And of course, we've got some custom code for our registration process, which puts that information when a user is registered into the profile store. So let's go back to our site. Talking about central administration sounds a lot, well, like administration. So let's talk about social stuff. Social stuff here, we can see that we don't have any messages. Now, how social is it to not have any messages? We don't have any buddies either. So let's go ahead and add a buddy. If we add a buddy, we should get to a screen where we can search for one of the other folks on this site. We'll go ahead and use our people picker. And let's search for Chris. And here's Chris. We'll go ahead and add Chris as a buddy. And we'll say OK. So now if I look down here, you can see that I've got Chris Ashton as a buddy. I've got some profile details loaded right here on my buddy's website in that I can see his photo. And I also have the capability to send a message from Todd to Chris right here inside of the My Buddies web part. So let's go ahead and send a message. The message for Chris here should be, "Hi Chris, Todd here. How's life?" And we'll send this. And so now the message has been delivered. Chris should see that when Chris logs in. So let's go ahead and log out and log in as Chris and see what that looks like. So I logged out. We'll log in as Chris. So Chris is Chris A at AdventureWorks. So I've got the login information there. We are logging in. And you can see that I have a message in my Messages inbox essentially here. And I've got a message from Todd Rowe. "Hi Chris, Todd here. How's life?" All right, well, fantastic. That worked exactly as we expected. This is that private messaging feature. No email required. And as I scroll down here, I could add a buddy. And I could add Todd. Go ahead and search for Todd. And Todd Rowe. We'll add him and say OK. And say OK. And Todd here, now I have the capability to send and receive messages back and forth with Todd as either Chris or as Todd. All right, fantastic. So we've discussed the message board capabilities. The next thing that we really should look at is our wiki site. I'm going to go ahead and log out as Chris I like being Todd more than I like being Chris. I just think that Todd has a more interesting and compelling photo. Look at that grin. We'll see if I can actually click the link. And so now I'm going to log in now as Todd instead of as Chris. Okay, so I'm on my, actually here I seem to be viewing Chris's site. So let me go back to the home page. I am in as Todd. Todd has no messages, but that's okay. We're going to go and take a look at the wiki capability now. So let's look at our wiki guide. The wiki guide, full of compelling text right here, lorem ipsum. This should be changed. Let's go ahead and, now that I'm logged in, make a quick modification to the lorem ipsum text here. Let's edit this, and we'll go ahead using our WYSIWYG capabilities here. We'll go ahead and highlight that, and we'll bold it. And let's make sure I actually click it. And here we'll highlight this, and we will underline it. And I will go ahead and say OK. Make sure that the site is seeing my OK click. And here we go. And so using WYSIWYG capabilities, any user who's familiar with the editing functionality of a Word type of program can make style type decisions about the content that gets put in there. Anyone who has permission to browse and edit the wiki pages can create pages using the wiki. Let's go back and look at edit mode one more time to show you how easy it is to create a link to a new page. And let's go ahead and we'll say, and I want to pull the bottom of this up to see the note, create a link to another wiki page. You just type in the link. So let's go ahead and put in, let's just say, Washington. And okay, so now I've got a link to Washington. Notice that it hasn't been defined yet. All I have to do is click on it, and it'll take me to the capability to create a new page. And I'll hit create. And I'm on my Washington page. In my wiki guide, if I go back to the wiki guide homepage, I can link to my Washington page. No problem. The wiki works exactly as I'd like to see it work. And this is a great way for multiple users to collaborate together in a very free text fashion, and they can keep up with different topics. It's a great pattern to create some form of relationship between your information by linking your pages together, as we just did here from this page to the Washington page. Helps your users find what's going on in the wiki. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is we want to talk about searching for people. Well, I happen to be here on the wiki guide page, and I have a search for a buddy function right here. So as Todd, I am interested, of course, in Todd. So let's go ahead and search for Todd and see that I get back people information about Todd. And I do. And here's my Todd page. Let me go back to a page that has that search, and we'll search for a different user. Let's search for Chris. I'll go ahead and hit the search button. And here I have my people search results about Chris. And there we go. Now notice that Chris is in Ireland. Let's go see if we can search for Ireland. We can see that we return Chris, who is, in fact, in Ireland. So it worked as we expect. That would be people search. We have just a little bit left to cover here in the demo portion. We're going to talk about the community features. Let's go ahead and look at our community section. The community section here in our AdventureWorks sample is composed of two pieces. We have our message board, and we have a discussion board. The message board functionality is a custom list that just posts messages to this custom list and surfaces them. This is the post any kind of comment that any user can see. We can go ahead and add a new message. totally new and completely compelling bit of trivia. We should be so lucky, and we'll post that in. We can see that Todd Rowe has actually posted some new messages. They've got a date timestamp. I actually have the capability to log out and look at this. Notice that as the logged in user, I can post a message. If I log out, I don't have the capability to post the message, but we do have the capability to read the messages. So it does require, at least for this particular use case, it does require that you log in to see that message, to be able to post new messages rather. Okay, next up, let's talk about our discussion board. So let me log back in, click the login link here, put in the email, Todd R. at AdventureWorks. Okay, now let's go back to our community page, and here we have the discussion board. Let's go into the USA discussion board and see what content is there about USA. Well, this is a very interesting concept that I'm going to get Iwa has entered in. Looks more like lorem ipsum, but this is such a compelling piece of content that I, as Todd, must reply to that message. So the ice cream is better in Italy. The USA is okay, but better ice cream inside of Italy. All right, we'll just say that. We'll say okay. And there we go. We've got Todd posting messages in this discussion forum, and the view that we're looking at this information in is a flat view. We do have the capability to change the view to see a threaded look and feel, and here you can sort of see, although it's really difficult to see here thanks to the styling, that the message is actually tabbed in slightly to show a relationship between this reply from Todd to this original message by Iwa. I like the flat view better. We've got photos. So this is the basic capability of a threaded discussion board, the ability to mimic a discussion forum or newsgroup style posting, and if we enabled it, we could actually do moderator approval of posts so that nothing shows up until the moderator agrees that it should be posted. So the last thing to take a look at is really the blogs functionality. Let's go ahead and look at the blogs, and you can see that we have two blog areas here. We have our travel experts blog and our community blog. The community blog would be that roll-up of blog information from the individual user's MySite. Now, that's actually going to be empty at the moment because I haven't created a blog for any of the users, so we won't bother looking at that. Now that I'm looking at the travel experts blog site, let's actually log out to make sure that we can see the experience that you would get as an anonymous user browsing the web for travel expert advice. Look at all of these fun people up here. Surely they know what they're talking about. Let's go ahead. We'll take a look at this blog post. And we have the ability to bookmark this post with a variety of social sites, dig, delicious, stumble upon, that sort of thing. Let's go ahead and I will be Chris. Chris.com. And we'll all go to the UK. It's a great idea. That's clearly what this post is talking about. We'll go ahead and post our comment. And you can see that the comment information, you must have to actually hit the post comment button. And okay, well that would be a bug in the demo. So what should happen here is that the comment gets posted, our number of comments gets aggregated. Let's go ahead and log in and see what it's like to manage the blog as a blog administrator. We'll go ahead and log in. I'll log in as Todd. And here we go. So I've logged in. Notice I have the capability to edit the post now as a logged in and properly permissioned user. I also have some blog administration links here, including the ability to create a brand new post, manage my existing posts, or should I have them, since the demo misfired on me, manage comments. Of course, I don't actually have them. Let's create a new post and see what that experience looks like. Okay, I need a new post. Let's go ahead to Washington, D.C. This is a true statement. Washington, D.C. is where the president lives. I will go ahead and say that this is a culture topic. Go ahead and add that. And I will save this as a draft. So the fact that I'm saving this as a draft means that no one can see this who is not a properly permissioned user. So if I go back to the Travel Experts blog, I, as the user who created this, has the capability to see this post, but if I log out, that disappears. I no longer have the capability to see that post as a user who doesn't have the proper permission. Let's go ahead and approve that post. Actually, before I approve the post, I need to submit it for publishing. So let me log back in as Todd. Okay, let's go ahead to the post. We'll notice our editing toolbar here, and I have the capability to start the workflow for approval. No workflows there. We'll click on this. It looks like my submission is pending approval. All right, great. So now I need to be the properly permissioned user to do the approval. Let me log in as that user. Homepage. We will log in as our administrative user. Okay, we'll go to our blog site. As our administrative user, notice that we have the Site Actions menu available to us. We can see the post that Todd Rowe has placed. We'll go ahead and check the status of this approval. Let's see if we can actually run the workflow on it. Looks like the approve and reject has not been set up correctly here in our demo environment. So I'm not going to be able to show you the approval process. But the basic workflow would be the author creates the post, makes the necessary modifications to content, submits the blog post for approval, and then a properly permissioned approval user would log in, view the post waiting for approval, and be able to approve or deny each of the individual posts for editorial control purposes. That is, of course, optional, and you do not have to have an approver. You can immediately post a blog entry. All right. So that is actually the end of the demonstration as we have it for our AdventureWorks site. Let's go ahead and go back to our slides where we're going to talk about the Community Kit for SharePoint and the extensions that those give you on top of SharePoint functionality. Let's actually go ahead and take some questions at this time before we go back to that.
So we had a few questions while Matt was giving the demo, and the first question was, is the AdventureWorks demo a demo built by yourself or part of the Microsoft Demo Virtual Machines Litware?
Okay, well, so the answer for that is that this is actually a Microsoft virtual machine. It will be made publicly available, I believe, near the end of the month, but I'm not 100% certain when the date is. It's not publicly available yet. However, you will soon be able to download this and rip out every piece of functionality and use it in your own environment.
So another question was, can you please explain how presence information can be implemented from a public-facing portal using forms authentication, preferably without a client-side installation requirement? And so the answer to that is the presence is based on MSN Messenger or Office Communicator. It's based on a DLL that's installed on a client machine. So you really do have to have the username aligned with the name that they log into Communicator with to get the presence information. So there is a client requirement to installing that, and that does show the jelly bean or icon and their status. So the The next question was, what is the difference between a friend and a buddy?
So the difference between a friend and a buddy is really semantics. According to SharePoint's internal terminology, we're talking in both cases about colleagues and the relationship between those colleagues. A friend is kind of the Facebook metaphor I was using, that a Facebook friend equates to an AdventureWorks.com demo portal buddy, which equates to a SharePoint colleague. So hopefully that answers your question.
And then the final one is, hi, can we rate an article? And the answer to that is you can do rating, but that is another set of information, or another set of code on CodePlex. So if you look for the rating controls in SharePoint on codeplex.com, you'll find more information about being able to do rating.
Yeah, we didn't actually have that implemented inside of this virtual machine, as it didn't really fit the particular sample model that we were looking at. But there is that capability out there, and it's a great use of collaboration and groupthink to help surface valuable articles to the top and show the folks who are creating those articles how those articles are being received by the people reading them.
So we have two more, and then we'll move on to the CKS stuff. This next question is, how can I store sensitive data in this case?
So in this case, we're exposing most, if not all, of the content inside of the portal to anonymous users. My site, and in fact any SharePoint document library, however, have the capability to change that kind of permission model and to say that it's private to a specific set of logged-in users, for properly permissioned users. You actually saw an example of that with the blog, where I created a post, and the post went into a draft mode where it was not visible. That's a type of security on the content that allows you to control who can see it and when they see it.
And then the final question is, can profile image storage be directed to other locations than users' MySite library? And they wish to use another location than MySites. And to be honest, I don't know offhand if you can do that. In general, the profile picture pulls from the MySite library, and but it is in the profile store, so if they could edit the profile store, they could probably edit the URL to another location.
But we should distinguish the profile store from the MySite itself. Those are separate. The profile store could contain links to, could potentially contain links to information that are not actually stored inside of a MySite library. So if you'd like to implement the surfacing of profile details without actually implementing a MySite, you do have that capability. Well, why don't we go ahead and go to the Community Kit for SharePoint. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Brendan, who's going to take us the rest of the way through the material.
So a lot of the features that you've seen today show rich community and social interaction. And a lot of that capability is possible based on the Community Kit for SharePoint. And the Community Kit for SharePoint is just a set of enhancements that improve on the general features of SharePoint that are out of the box. They specifically enhance the blogs and the wikis, are two social areas that they enhance. And keep in mind that these are not officially maintained or supported by Microsoft. This is done by the community. Anyone can join, anyone can participate, and the code is freely available.
And it is freely available on CodePlex at codeplex.com/CKS.
So some of the CKS editions that we've talked about are the blog and the wiki edition. There's also a site template for user groups, and the other editions that are either in progress or underway are an enhanced discussion board edition, so you can install an enhanced discussion board, a corporate intranet edition, the intranet and extranet edition, which has been which had forms-based authentication providers in it, and has been split into two groups now. There is now a forms-based authentication module, as well as the intranet extranet edition, proposed second edition of the user group edition, and the school edition, as well as many other community contributions such as tag clouds and virtual Earth mashups. So what do you get with the blog edition? So many people that install SharePoint load up the blogs, and they look for rich, robust features like any blogging engine that you'd find on the internet. And the out-of-the-box experience doesn't give you that ease of theming. It doesn't give you the ease of modifying it to your own personal needs. And many blogs are very personalized. They're focused on the person's persona or what they're trying to commit or display to the end users. And the Enhanced Blog Edition extends the functionality in the SharePoint site. It doesn't actually change the site. It's just a set of features that you can enable or deactivate to enhance the look and feel. So if you've got a blog today on SharePoint, you can install the Enhanced Blog Edition and use the features once you click Activate on the site. And this lets you change between the out-of-the-box and the CKS version. The support that you get is a module theme framework, and this is for skinning the blog. This lets you use CSS to theme it. You can do tagging. You saw that there were social bookmarking links on the site that you could use. You can use moderation for anonymous comments. The other thing is friendly URLs are very popular on the web, and the Enhanced Blog Edition allows you to have friendly URLs instead of the list ID or the GUID of the list in the URL, as well as spam control. So you can use CAPTCHA or any of those spam control types of items. So in the Enhanced Wiki Edition, you have the ability to have integrated discussions. And this gives you the capability to actually discuss a topic before anything is posted to the wiki. So if you want to have 4 or 5 people discuss what the actual content needs to be before it's placed on there, you can click the integrated discussion button. You can use the table of contents or frequently asked questions control, and this allows you to have frequently asked questions linked to each set of content on the page. And this is very powerful through a simple wiki markup language that's displayed in the Enhanced Wiki Edition. And then finally, you can have any set of wiki markup tokens that you're interested in just by adding them into a custom list. With the Enhanced Blog Edition, the module theme framework is very simple to edit and extend. It's switchable through the UI, and you can select which theme you want from the site settings. Out of the box, there's a number of themes that are available. You can see that there's about 5 or so. And in addition to the one that was created for this demo, which was EventureWorks, the themes consist of simply just a theme.master, and this is the major controller for all the other parts of the viewing. There's XSLT files that actually transform the data into the nice display that you saw, as well as CSS and images that help provide the module theme framework with the end user view of it. So on the theme.master, all you need is to modify the theme.master with any CSS or HTML that you want. This provides the header, the footer, and the navigational elements on the page, as well as it has a number of placeholders. And these placeholders are required to be on the page. If they are taken out, the page will throw an error just like any of the other master pages that don't have content areas. But these allow you to have a title area, the page header, and the main areas such as the blog and the main content. As far as the XSLT controls, there's many XSLT controls, and these can be used for comments, link backs, posts, and you can modify this XSLT either through Notepad, Visual Studio, or SharePoint Designer to give you a new look and feel without having to change many other elements on the page. Finally, there's the pages for that provide the information, and that's the home.aspx page. This provides the page for displaying the information. There's posts, categories, and comments, and all these pages really just render the module theme framework with the XSLT that's been defined ahead of time. So to create a new theme, you simply just copy out one of the default themes, one that looks good and that you want to build off of, modify the theme.master page, and then customize any of the XSLT and CSS that may be required. Also, you'll need to upload any images to that theme and provide permissions. One thing that's nice about the theming engine is that it does provide security to the layouts pages so that anonymous access is not available to those pages. So in summary, what we've seen today is that the AdventureWorks combination with out-of-the-box controls gives you a very powerful and very compelling story for social computing and for social aspects of SharePoint. You can use the CKS Enhanced Blog Edition or any of the CKS members to enhance the blog or other components without intrusively modifying many of the underlying SharePoint elements. In fact, you can build and extend on the code that's available to you. So at this point, we'll pass it back to Tracy, the moderator, and she will give you some more information on the session and on the survey.
And we'll take some more questions and answer those questions that you've been typing into the question and answer dialogue just after she takes us through the next bit with the feedback form.
Excellent, thank you. I do want to remind everyone that you can print a PDF of the slides today by going to the printer icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your live meeting screen. Now you can either choose to print the slides out or just save them locally for your convenience. Also, for upcoming and previously recorded webcasts, you can go to microsoft.com/webcasts. Now the recording for this session is going to be available in about 24 hours. Now if you have any webcast content ideas, something out there you'd like to see and haven't yet, we'd love to hear from you. Just take note of this and share. Now I'm going to post a survey from our session today. Just want to follow the links provided to complete today's evaluation. We do appreciate your feedback. And Matt and Brendan, I'm going to hand it back over to you to wrap up with some questions.
All right, great. So the next question that we've got asks, is it possible to configure a conditional approval of buddies? And the example he asked is, can person A request person B as a buddy, and can that not actually occur until person B approves it? And the answer is that can certainly be done through some custom code and some custom workflow, but that is not kind of the out-of-the-box experience for colleagues inside of SharePoint.
Yeah, nor is there any code on CodeFlex or any other open source code that's available at the moment that I know of that provides that capability.
But it certainly would be an interesting example, and I encourage you to develop that and then post it to CodeFlex so the rest of us can take advantage of it.
The next question is, will CKS work with a simple WSS 3.0 installation, or does it require the much more expensive MOS deployment? And the answer to that is, most of the features of CKS will work with WSS 3.0. And the reason for that is the blog template and the wiki template are basic templates that come with WS 3.0. If there are any components in the CKS that you download that require MOS, such as the profile store or the My Site, then they would need the MOS deployment. But most of them, almost all of them, have WSS 3.0 that they support.
And to replicate the functionality that you have seen in the demonstration, that was an installation of MOS Standard Edition. And it did take advantage of a couple of Standard Edition features, including the profile store and including the content query web part to roll up content.
So the next question we have is, since the CKS is not supported by Microsoft, what should we expect when we go to upgrade SharePoint to the next version if our environment uses CKS? Will the migration process be affected? And that's actually a very tough question. And the reason for that is because we don't know yet what the migration process for the next version of SharePoint entails. And the CKS obviously has not been tested on the next version of SharePoint yet. As long as the team that's working on CKS, the community members, MVPs and community members of SharePoint, enhance the CKS to be upgradable to the next version of SharePoint, it should be upgradable. But because Microsoft does not support it, there's no guarantee that it'll be able to migrate appropriately. The good news is that you can turn off most of the features and have the basic blog site or wiki site back, and that won't affect your migration process then.
And you also won't lose your content, although you may, if you deactivate features and functionality, you may actually reduce the features and functionality, but your content should still be there.
And so with that, that's our last question. If there aren't any others, feel free to send them in.
All right, it looks like we've gotten one new one. So can the profile property visibility choices be altered to be more appropriate to site context rather than set business-oriented choices such as the my colleagues, etc.? For example, in the AdventureWorks site, the colleague notion changed to buddies, but the profile property visibility choice is my colleague. The API seems to have this as a hardwired enumeration. Well, to be honest and candid, I've not dived into the code to see whether or not this is truly a hardwired enumeration, or if you have the capability to make a modification to the text values that display. So I don't believe so, but I'm not sure.
But yes, that's correct. The enumeration is built into SharePoint. So you would have to choose from that enumeration what you want to be displayed. Because it's changed to buddies here, you would have to do the translation in the code to understand that buddies is your colleagues. But once you set that to colleagues, then it would be equivalent to the buddies in this situation.
And keep in mind that you do have the capability to create a custom profile page, or a custom input screen, rather, that allows you to input and modify those options. The screen that you saw a lot of those settings was actually a shared service provider administration screen that would not be available to end users, even logged in members of the site. And that's the last question that we have at this point.
All right. Well, what we can go ahead and do is if we have any remaining questions come in, we can just take them via the text question manager. And with that, I do want to extend a very special thank you to both Matt and Brendan for your presentation today and answering all the great questions we had come through the queue. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will conclude today's session. Thanks again for joining us. You may now disconnect from the audio portion of today's presentation.